Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show. So, there's a version of success that gets promoted everywhere. Be agreeable, be collaborative, be easy to work with. And while that sounds right, it often creates a quiet problem because the people who move things forward are not always the most agreeable people. They are decisive, they set boundaries, they're willing to be misunderstood in the short term to create something that works in the long term. So the question becomes, can you succeed without becoming someone you don't respect? So this conversation explores that tension between agreeableness and assertiveness, between being liked and being effective. I am joined by Danny M. Goldberg, an entrepreneur and author who challenges conventional leadership advice, arguing that success requires a certain level of edge, not cruelty, but clarity and conviction. Danny, welcome to Thought At Last. It's a pleasure to have you.
Pleasure to be here, man. Thank you.
Awesome. So, Danny, before we kick things off, here on Thought Atlas, I and my listeners, we want to get to know our guests on a personal level. So, if you don't mind, can you tell us more about yourself?
Sure. I've got about 28 years of total experience. I just turned 50 years old. I'm a
Wow.
CPA at heart. I am an accountant, but I've never done accounting. I've shifted my career in the early 2000s into internal audit and Sarbanes-Oxley compliance. And I did that for about 10 years. And, honestly, blessed, I hated my job. I hated everything about it. I did not work for somebody I respected. And I decided to leave in 2009.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but I had been writing and speaking on the side. And I had no passion for working in corporate America anymore. So I reached out to some contacts. I was able to procure a couple of contracts. 2 years later, I was able to sell my business. In 2014, I was able to buy it back. And we have grown
Wow.
exponentially since then. We've grown over, I think, 400 or 500% over the last 8 to 10 years. So um,
Wow.
we're a good size organization. We compete. We work with tons of Fortune 500 companies. A lot of people kind of view us as a smaller organization, but we have five or six speakers. And again, the focus of this business is professional development, staffing, and recruiting. But
Yeah.
this business has afforded me the opportunity to start other businesses and do what I really want to do in life, which is control my narrative and control my time.
Wow. Absolutely wonderful. Once again, Danny, welcome to Thought Atlas, and thank you for letting us get to know you. So, my first question for you today is, what made you first, question the idea that being nice is not the key, is the key to success, rather?
So it's interesting because I've done some self-reflection on this over the past few months as I've been doing more podcasts. And I think
Yes.
it's ingrained in your youth that, your parents, specifically my mom, would teach us, be nice. If you're nice, people are going to be nice to you. You're going to be successful. Just being nice in general is good for everybody. And in 2014, I actually wrote an article that was in the Dallas Business Journal called the Yes Man Phenomenon, which are people that are people pleasers that say yes to everything versus being realistic. If you're not realistic, you set up undue expectations. And so, because of that, this has kind of evolved into the current book that I have, A Little Bit of Asshole, because I think there's a lot of people out there, and every time I suggest this to somebody, people come back to me and say, you know what, that book's for me. Because there's so many people out there that want to get along. There's so many people out there that want to be nice and please people. But there's
Yes.
a small sect of people out there that want to take advantage of good people, nice people that want to please people. And that's what you've got to watch out for. And that's why you've got to make sure you set boundaries.
Oh, yes, I very much agree with you on that. Now, you argue that people sometimes need a little bit of edge. What does that mean in actual practice?
I've been thinking about this a lot more too. And again, I want to caveat what I'm saying. I'm not talking about physical violence or anything like that, but
Yes.
people have to realize that I have boundaries and do not cross them. And people have to understand that you have that edge. My kids, when they were younger, I'd always tell them, my kids are 18 and 17, and I'd always tell them, I said, okay,
Wow.
here's your boundaries. don't cross them. If you cross the boundaries, then the boundaries start to shrink at that point. And so,
Yes,
so that's kind of had been my perspective for a while now that you got to focus on being respected. That doesn't mean you have to be a jerk, but it does mean that you have to have that edge to you that people understand that you can't take advantage of me.
yes. You know what? I so much agree with you that there was a time my friend had an issue with let me see, it was an older gentleman, but they were kind of like friends. Their relationship was on a, should I say, on a friend kind of level, if you understand what I mean. Now,
Yep.
in my country, if someone is way older than you in age, you have to give them a certain level of respect. Now, in of itself, it's not a bad thing, but then
Hmm.
again, it can be a grounds for lots of some kind of an exploitation, if you will, where because oh I'm older than you, so you're supposed to do what I say. I'm always right. I'm never wrong. I mean, I've lived on this earth longer than you. You've been alive, so that kind of stuff. So I then told him that yes, this is how our society is run. Understandable. I get it. But this is how I do my thing when it comes to, having relationships. In fact, whether it's relationship, friendship, partnership, all the ships, if you will. This is what I do. I make sure I have leverage because I believe where there's leverage, there's respect. So in a relationship where you don't have any leverage, there will be no respect. You basically become a yes man. You start seeking for the other person's validation. Now I don't know how you could articulate this in a way that it could fit, but I think we're essentially talking about the same thing. I'm not talking in terms of business. I'm just talking in terms of dealing with people every day because I mean, if you cannot deal with everyday people, how can you run the company being a yes man? If to everyday people you're a yes man and you want to start a company and you become a yes man to your employees or a yes man to your colleagues, I don't think that business is going to go far because somebody could come up with a very stupid idea that could run the business down. But because you're a yes man, you'll be afraid to challenge the person or say, this is your idea. I don't think it's realistic or it's feasible. So that kind of stuff. So what I told my conclusion is what I just told me that was every relationship you have with somebody, make sure you have some kind of leverage. I don't know what it is. The leverage could be anything that works for you, but have leverage when it comes to relationships with people, all the kind of ships essentially, whether it's partnership, blah blah, that kind of stuff. So do you think it's a fair assessment?
Oh, 100%, man. I think you and I are going to get along just fine because I would agree with you on everything you said. You put it in different terms, having leverage. But in today's world, people are very focused on having echo chambers. They want people to confirm what they're thinking instead of being honest with them. And
Yes.
in today's world, honesty is going to sell and sell great. I mean, if you look at any AI tool, if you use
Oh
ChatGPT,
my God. AI is a pussy. Oh, sorry, I said that.
no, it's an echo chamber. They tell
Yeah.
you a lot of times what you want to hear versus
Yeah.
what you need to hear. Now, again, they can be a little bit bitterly honest, but again, they are designed to be agreeable. And
Yes.
so I think the more you use the AI tools, I think you're actually going to become the opposite, which again is tactfully direct and honest. So if it's leverage, whatever it is, the ability to just say no to people, good
Yes.
leaders are very comfortable in uncomfortable situations.
Oh wow. That's in fact we can literally end that podcast on we can end this podcast on that note, but no, let's continue. So, a lot of people struggle with, setting boundaries. Why do you think it's so difficult to say no, even when it is necessary?
I would say in general, it's about people pleasing, and you were talking about personal and professional life. I'd give you some examples on personal life. In today's world, adult dating has a lot to do with financial security. Women want them to be taken care of, and
Yes.
if you don't have boundaries, people will take advantage of you. And I've been in situations where I continue to say yes to a point where I set up unrealistic expectations, and then I had to pull back some. Did it end relationships? It 100% did. But I'm okay with that. And I'm confident walking away from a relationship because I don't want my boundaries crossed all the time. If I give,
Exactly.
it's got to be somewhat of a mutual relationship or it's pointless. And so I think just in society in general, honesty is going to be a focus moving forward, hopefully. And you need that one person in your life or a couple people, blessed, that are going to be bitterly honest with you at all times. I have one of my buddies who's been a client. He
Yes.
worked at Arthur Anderson 28 years ago. If I really need an honest assessment on something, he's going to be the first one I'll call, and he'll say, "No, you're an idiot. Don't do that." And again, I don't get offended at that
But yeah,
I take value in that. It's like coaching and mentoring in the professional spectrum. If someone cares about you, they're willing to give you constructive, even negative feedback because they care and they want to see you improve. If I don't care
yes,
about you, I'm just going to ignore what you're doing and not worry about it and then fire you.
exactly. And sometimes they would even encourage you to do something that could be detrimental to you in some way. There was something I told my brother one time. I said, I would rather you hit me for a few weeks, then you realize that I was right all along, then come back to your senses. Then I encourage you to do something incredibly stupid. Then you end up in a much more dire situation where probably you may never come back from. So yes, I think it's paramount that we all have people around us that are ready to tell us that, bro, yeah, you're literally fooling yourself right now. Bro, this thing you're doing doesn't make any sense whatsoever. People that will tell us the truth, not try to whitewash or try to because I don't want to hurt your feelings, that kind of stuff. And even when it comes to relationships too, with the opposite gender, I think it's the same thing too. You should also be ready to say your mind and say, provided you know that what you're saying, you're sure, like from empirical evidence, not from how you feel. From from an empirical sense, yes, whatever is going on right now, it's not the right thing to be doing. Then you make that point, make it known. Then if the other person doesn't want to agree with you, then you will know that, oh, that's your cue to run away or something.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
essentially, yeah.
100% agree with you, man.
Yeah. So now, do you think people are more afraid of conflict or being disliked? What do you think make people become the yes man essentially?
I think a lot of it has to do with how we grow up and how we're programmed at a young age. We want to get
Yes.
along with people. On the other hand, too, I think a lot of it has to do with just the general nature of avoiding conflict. People hate conflict. I teach conflict management in my classes all the time, and one of the things I always tell people is conflict is not bad. Confrontation, arguments, that's bad. Conflict is my point of view versus your point of view, and we try to bridge the gap.
Yes.
Why can't we have these kind of conversations in the workplace? Because we become emotional and we don't respect the other person. If you respect the other person and if you don't let emotion override your common sense, you should be able
Yes.
to talk about anything. But again, we're very much social media, emotionally driven society now, and it's quite frankly very unhealthy.
I agree with you 100%. And I love the way you explained, the way you defined conflict. Nowadays words are becoming like more like guns. I don't know if I'm correct. Like someone says something, and boom, all of a sudden people start acting as if they've like inhaled cocaine or something. Bro, it's just words. Why? Like people just get so triggered. I'm like, what's happening? What's going on? Am I missing the
Oh man,
memo?
yeah,
Like
I agree.
people get, I mean, honestly, if you told me how if you tell me like I'm stupid or you say something, maybe even if it's something profane or something that is even in a racist way, honestly, I won't even get offended. But trust me, if you put a gun in my face, I will kneel down and beg for my life. That would definitely trigger me if I see a gun pointed at my head or something. But honestly, I doubt for a fact if words will ever trigger me because I mean it's just words at the end of the day. It's just it doesn't hold any weight except it's,
Listen,
it's written except it's written on paper and it's signed by the government.
I know I agree with everything you're saying because I've been saying this for years. One of the most freeing things in life is not giving a shit what people think that aren't important to you. You know, I
Honestly,
don't like if I don't know you, I don't care what you think. It's not relevant to me. So if I post something on Twitter and I got this happened a couple weeks ago where I
yeah,
just get shredded and very anti-Semitic shredding, quite frankly.
yeah,
I don't care. You know, I just block the people and move on. It doesn't matter to me. Only focus
exactly.
on the people that matter and if if it's your son, it's your daughter, it's your mother saying something, that's a whole different conversation.
Exactly. And I don't understand how you're going to be the boss of a company and you'll be a yes man. How did you even get there in the first place? Did
Yeah.
you like how? Honestly, because where I live to become the leader, to become the boss, oh my God, you have to be like the hardest person there for real. There's no way
Listen,
you'll be so
let me toss this in there because
yeah,
someone asked me about, hey, three big leadership qualities are empathy, vulnerability, and I forgot the other one, but I agreed with the empathy part. I agreed with the
yes,
third one. I just can't think of what it was. But I told him, I said, vulnerability, I don't think that's good in society. I don't think being vulnerable is a good leadership quality. That doesn't mean you should be a statuesque wall of
yes,
unemotional. That's not what I'm saying. But the more vulnerable I show my girlfriend, the less she respects me.
exactly.
The more
Exactly.
vulnerable I am to my employees, the less they're going to respect me. So I don't think vulnerability is a good quality in leadership.
I totally agree with you. Now, the thing is, even if you want to be vulnerable, you shouldn't be vulnerable to the people you are leading. They need to trust in your ability to lead them. So you can be vulnerable to somebody in a place of higher authority. Then that person will continue going up the chain, be vulnerable to another person in a higher place of higher authority until probably wherever the chain ends. That's the best thing to do, as opposed to, just being vulnerable. Okay, I'm take for example, I am a father who's in charge of a family. Eventually, by God's grace, that's what I hope to be. And I don't know, something happens at work or happen outside, and I come back home and I start crying to my kids. What do I expect them to do?
Yeah.
Like what are they going to do? People that they just came to this earth, they're looking up to me for guidance, and yeah, I hear I'm crying to them. Like or your wife that you are the head of the home, you're the one in charge, and you're crying to her. No, you should have people. You have your male friends you could confide in. You could have, maybe if you are religious, you go to church. You could have a pastor you could talk to. There are lots of ways you can vent and relax, because you need to make sure that the people at home, you need to have your cool. You always need to be, even if you want to be vulnerable, not to them, but now, and oh my, how do I articulate this? Not in a way that it affects the dynamics of,
Yes.
how everything is going on. You can be
Yes.
vulnerable to them in a way that, oh, I remember when you were born, you were so fragile. I was thinking, how am I going to protect you? There's a way you could just go about it that they would actually begin to respect you more, as opposed to losing the respect they have for you. I don't really know how to, I'm going to articulate it, but I hope you do understand.
No, I do, and I would say, I feel very comfortable being vulnerable to my mom, maybe my brothers, my kids a little bit, but not as much. But
Yes.
if it's someone I'm dating, I do not want to be vulnerable to them until we get married. My ex-wife, we had a lot of issues, but the one thing I could do with her is I could be vulnerable. I could tell her my problems, and she was extremely supportive and great at it. And
Wow.
not everybody's like that. And so if I'm
Yes.
dating somebody, I'm trying to establish respect in that relationship, and I become vulnerable, the respect factor is going to go down.
Yes, actually. Now, I've been working towards this question for a while now. There's always this social expectation, this tendency for people to always explain themselves. You also want to. Why do you think people feel they need to justify their decisions so much?
So I think a lot of it has to do with, in today's society, everybody wants an echo chamber. Everybody wants people to agree with what I'm saying versus, again, tell the truth, like we've been talking about. So
Yeah.
a lot of times when I say no to somebody, it's an expectation that no, you need to explain yourself. I don't need to explain myself. Now, will I a lot of times, blessed, explain myself and my rationale because I want people to understand my perspective? Of course I will. But that doesn't mean I'm obligated to do it. Sometimes the answer is no, I cannot do that, but I appreciate you asking. And that's it. I don't think people are very uncomfortable with that because they're trying to rationalize and justify why they're saying no versus focusing on the no at heart.
Oh wow. Thank you so much for that wonderful clarification. Now, you talk about something called selective agreeableness. How does someone actually apply that in real life without necessarily damaging relationships with people?
I think it's all about being tactfully direct, selective agreeableness, whatever you want to call it. It's I should be able to tell you anything without offending you. What I'm saying is not offensive. If you choose to be offended, that's your choice. But if I can be tactfully direct and not offensive, I should be okay. I look at this as kind of our, something we call the asshole energy spectrum, because
Oh
because
wow.
I think there's basically four levels of it because you have to be able to set appropriate boundaries. Like a level one is polite firmness. It's I'm not available for that. It's I need to think about it. It's just having good daily boundaries. People ask me all the time, what's one thing I can start with? It's look in the mirror and say to yourself, I'm going to say no to somebody today. And that's a
Oh wow.
starting point. And what does that do? That builds confidence. That builds an aura about you. That builds an edge to you that's helpful, because again, people should know here's my boundaries and don't cross them. Level two
Yes,
is
yes.
clear directness. If I'm pushed more after my daily boundaries, I'm going to be a little more direct. I'm going to say, hey, this conversation isn't productive. Let's move on. Or I've already answered that. If you need further clarification, let's take it offline. Then level three is where we go to what you were just talking about is walking away without explanation. It's strategic hardness. It's for serious boundary violations. When someone continues to cross their boundary over and over, I need to just say, I don't agree with you. This stops now. Or I'm just going to walk away without an explanation. I'm not going to discuss this any further. Again, it's
Yes.
not where you want to be, but it's where you have to be at times. And then finally, level four is a nuclear option where this causes relationships to end. That doesn't happen often, but has it happened to me? 100%, because they kept on pushing me through the four levels and would not respect the boundaries. If they don't respect the boundaries, they don't respect me. I can't be with someone like that.
Wow. Thank you so much for that wonderful response, then. And also, I think this is where leverage kind of comes in. Like I said, the leverage could be anything. It could even be something as simple as just the respect you have for yourself. The fact that you respect yourself so much to seek validation outside of yourself. I mean, in some way, in one way or the other, we all seek validation from people. But I think
Mhm.
the way we should balance it is the amount of validation I'm seeking from the outside should be way less compared to the how much I validate myself by myself. And I keep saying it to my friends that being in a relationship with a woman as a man and you are seeking a validation, oh my God, you're just setting yourself up to be destroyed, honestly, because she's going to be like, oh, this guy, he worships me, he worships the ground. I'm not saying you shouldn't love your woman or, treat her well or and whatnot. What I'm trying to say is she should not be the one to validate how you feel about yourself. How you feel about yourself should depend solely on you, not on her. If you put that responsibility on her, the relationship is already gone from the get-go. She's going to look for someone else that can do that for themselves and not wanting someone to do it for them. So that this also extends into everyday relationship, whether it's with your friends and we just be ready to walk away, be even down to your job. I mean, you go to I've heard of situations where two people will be working being in a workplace and they'll be doing the same jobs, but they'll be getting paid different wages. I was like, how does that even work? And my friend explained because he lives overseas. He explained to me that it's how you pitch yourself to the company. If you come in very confident and they see that, oh, this guy actually is confident, he feels like he knows what he's doing, then you can kind of like bargain with them on an amount that you would want them to pay you. But
Mhm.
if you come in and you behave in a way that you feel kind of shy or you feel less of yourself, and they will definitely take advantage of that. I'm like, oh, this guy doesn't do, and there's no way they would eventually promote such a person to a leadership role. I mean, it's almost next to impossible. But if you come in and you know your worth, you know how well you studied to, you went to college, you graduated top of your class, and of course, yes, if you don't want to give me the job, I'll go to somewhere else. They'll definitely want to employ you, and we be looking. You can actually be looking towards the prospects of get into a leadership role in the company and that kind of stuff. So I think that's also there. So that in that case now, leverage would be the amount of respect you have for yourself. And I think that could be something. So then how can people, right? From your experience, how can people build that ability? Like you've said a few, but do you have any other one you could mention? How can people that just that mentality of being able to respect themselves so much to be able to walk away from something when it's starting to cross certain kinds of boundaries for them?
Plus, and I would say, going back to your comment on validation, I have made that mistake myself where, I'm looking for, to a certain extent, validation or security with someone else. And that's got to be something that, to your point, you find inward. I'm dating somebody, and I love her to death. I think she's fantastic.
Yes,
But I'm willing to walk away if we can't agree on
exactly,
something.
exactly.
And for a long time, blessed, I was not. But now I've gotten to that point where it's like, no, here's the way things are going to be from my perspective. If we can't agree to that, then it's just not going to work. I'm not going to force people. The way I look at it, blessed, is anybody that's in my life is, and again, I'm very blessed with my life. I have a wonderful life.
Oh
Anybody
wow,
that's in
that's
my life,
wonderful.
anybody that's in my life is blessed too because they get to see the
Yes,
growth that's happening. They get to be a part of something wonderful. And if they choose not to, that's their choice, and it's going to be their loss as well.
exactly, exactly. Wow, I love that so much, Danny. Thank you so much for that. For everyone listening, please hope you're taking notes and hope you're hope you're taking notes. Hope you're taking notes and wow, that was just wonderful, Danny. Now, Danny, from your experience, how much of success comes from strategy versus how you carry yourself?
Wow. You know what? I think success is all about who you know and how you carry yourself. Yes, strategy is helpful, intelligence is helpful, but in today's modern society, we actually promote people because of technical competence versus emotional intelligence and good leadership. I'm looking for somebody that can lead people. I don't need someone to do the work. You're going to have people doing the work, but I need somebody that can be respected. I need somebody that, I talk about this in one of my classes all the time is have you ever worked for somebody that got you to do more just because it was the right thing to do versus motivating you through monetary needs. And everybody will tell me that. And it's like, because I trusted them and I respected them because I'm willing to
Yeah,
work hard because I can see their vision. And that's what you're looking for. You want people to respect you because people that respect you will follow you and work harder than probably they've ever worked in their life because they know you're looking at the bigger picture.
exactly. Exactly. Sometimes, sometimes we see it in movies. We even see it in real life. Like why are these people following this man or this woman or this person? What do they see in this person? It's the way they carry themselves. Just really, I mean, I've seen people that, right? We know that what they are doing is mediocre. We know that that it has no benefits to humanity, but they are still attracting followers. They are attracting people, and it's all by how they carry themselves. I
It's an
mean,
aura. It's an
yeah,
aura about them,
exactly,
the edge to them.
exactly. Like I live in West Africa, Nigeria to be precise. There are certain people, certain characters in my country. My country is a very, how do I say it? It's a crazy place, man. It's crazy. There are so many things going on that, trust me, growing up, I try to just read outside, read books from other parts of the world because the culture is just crazy. Most people are in a bubble. They don't know that there are other aspects of life. There are other people. Of course, they know visually, they know, but mentally, they don't know. They don't know that. They feel like what we are doing here is maybe it's somehow or in some way close to what they are doing in other parts of the world, but it's totally very different. It's actually one of the reasons why I opened my podcast. I wanted to be able to speak with people from different parts of the world, even if I cannot experience your culture physically. Let me experience it virtually. Speaking to people gives me an idea, an insight into how they live their lives in their own country and whatnot. And coupled with the fact that there's social media, there's lots of educational content, lots of books to read. I can literally order a book from Amazon. I just have to wait a few weeks for it to get here. So, anyways, by the way, they just like we all know, I and a few other people, we know that this guy is just full of shit, man. Sorry
Yeah.
that I'm saying using profane words. This is just bullshit, man. But how does he keep attracting for he will climb a podium and be saying utter bullshit with so much enthusiasm and so much aura that even you yourself that you know it's bullshit, you'll kind of like, wow, you'll be like, damn, I admire this guy. It's just
Yeah.
crazy. And I think we can say that it's all about how they carry themselves. They are doing nonsense and rubbish, but because of they carry themselves so well, the rubbish are somehow metamorphosized into not rubbish, and it's just crazy. Yeah,
Agree. Very much
yeah,
agree.
yeah. Now, there is also an internal side. How do you personally navigate the tension between confidence and self-doubt? Even I myself, I sometimes I have issues with that.
I struggled with that even to this day, honestly. And what I always, I think just having gratitude with the life that you have will build strong self-confidence. I have strong belief in what I can do. My new companies that I'm starting right now, I have no doubt that they're going to be successful. Does
Yes,
self-doubt creep in? 100%. But I also know the power of positivity and the power of having an aura about you, a good strategy to it. And so I feel very confident that these are going to work out. Again, self-doubt will always creep in, but if you let it
yes.
take over, you won't be successful.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for that wonderful response, Danny. Now, Danny, your work challenges a lot of conventional advice. I cannot even begin to think what that must be like. I think every day you literally have to debate your way into making your point known to people because I don't think lots of people would agree. I, for one, agree with you. I think we need leaders who are ruthless. Okay, maybe not like, of course, empathy is very important. Empathy is a trait a leader should have, but a leader should not be a pussy, essentially. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
So, now, your work challenges a lot of conventional advice. How do you, go about trying to make people understand your point of view?
It's like I said earlier, it's all about being tactfully direct. It's all about being respected and not necessarily liked. And that's what people need to realize that being liked doesn't mean it's a good thing. Being liked is someone that might be taken advantage of because you're a people pleaser. So be comfortable in uncomfortable situations. Be comfortable saying no and not yes for once. I think if you're doing those things, people are going to start to respect you and respect your boundaries. If you continue
Wow.
your people pleaser path, it's only your the height of your career is going to be exponentially lower because of that.
Wow. Thank you so much for that wonderful response. And to add on top of that, when you tend to please people a lot. You may end up, I think it was a Greek philosopher that said it. Is it Socrates or I can't remember his name. I don't know if it's Socrates. I just like saying that name. But anyways, this was what this is what he said. He or she said, I think it's a he. He said, stupidity is way more dangerous than wickedness. Wickedness takes a break. If someone is wicked, they cannot be wicked like 247 every microsecond. They'll be like, oh my God, today looks like a very good day not to be wicked. You know what? Let me take a break today. I'll continue tomorrow. And people will breathe. People will breathe. At least nobody will experience wickedness for that day. I mean, think back to all the wicked people in history. There were days that they took time off their wickedness and they were kind of kind. But stupidity never takes a break. Stupidity is constant. Stupidity is like oh my god, what other things constant in life? Stupidity is like the sun. Has to it's always there. It doesn't go anywhere. It's just that sometimes the earth turns around and some of us escape it, but it's never going anywhere. That's what stupidity is like. And stupidity is very dangerous because of the fact that it's constant. Another thing that makes stupidity very just stay with me, I'm going somewhere. Another thing that makes stupidity very dangerous is the fact that stupidity is not even aware that it's stupid. That's another issue. People that are stupid are not aware that they are stupid. I don't like to drive this point to drive this point in, right? To buttress this point. I could be stupid and I may not even know. I would need you to help me with that, Danny. So so what I'm trying to say is imagine you being a yes man and you're being a yes man to someone stupid. Oh my god.
Yep.
That's a recipe for an atomic bomb. You could destroy yourself, destroy that person, and destroy the multitudes of people around you just because of the fact that whatever that person says, you say yes, yes, yes. So I think it's one of the reasons why we need to have this ability to validate ourselves by ourselves and have the ability to say no. When a stupid person or someone who's stupid, I'm not insulting anybody, I'm just saying someone, oh, oh my God, this is the only word I can think of, stupid.
Yeah.
Someone who's stupid postulates an idea, and we all know that that idea is actually going to land us in a very big pile of shit. But because of the fact that the person in charge is a yes man, he doesn't want to seem like doesn't want to hurt that person's feelings. They're going to go on with the idea, and at the end of the day, people who were not even involved in the decision making process are going to suffer from it. So that's just what I wanted to add. And if you have any thoughts on that, you can share that.
No, I agree with you. It's all about, being strategically aggressive in situations. You can't be, to your point earlier, there's a lot of people that are dumb that don't realize they're dumb. And
Yes,
and I think that's really important. So again, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's all about having an aura about yourself and great self-confidence in these situations to understand, hey, this person doesn't know what they're talking about. I'm not going to embarrass them, but I'm not going to go along with them either.
exactly. Right. Thank you so much for that. Danny, you just articulated my thoughts for me. That was wonderful. Thank you so much. How can I ever repay you? So,
Ah, my pleasure, man. This has been
yes.
fun.
Yes. So my final question before we go to the rapid fire segment is, do you think modern culture rewards passivity more than it should?
100% it does. And I think that and it goes back to more social validation. We're so focused on social media nowadays where, people have to post everything to be validated. And,
Yeah.
not caring what people think is the most freeing thing in the world. The only people we should care about are the ones we love, period. So ask me what was the question again? I'm sorry, man. I went on a tangent.
Okay, so it's cool, Danny. I said, do you think modern culture tend to reward passivity more than it should?
I think especially with, you've got all these famous influencers that literally add no value to society, but yet
Exactly.
make lots of money. So I think a lot of kids today think, oh, you know what, I'm just gonna become a YouTuber and make money. In reality, I've told my son, I've told my daughter this. The Goldbergs are not the smartest people, but we're intelligent. We're not the most athletic people, but we work hard and we are athletic enough. Combine those
Yes.
two things with hard work and persistence and you're going to be successful. Period. That's it. But again, that attitude of persistence and hard work has been degraded in society, and I agree with you. I think it's a big problem.
Honestly, I mean, you open Instagram, you come online, you see a post. Oh my God, I just took a shit 3 times today. I like how, and the person gets lots of money for posting something so stupid. But yeah, it's just how crazy it is. The world is unfair. Life is not fair. But what can we do about it? We're born into the world, so we just find our way around it until it's our time to leave, and that's how it
Yep.
just is. Thank you so much for that wonderful response, Danny. So onto the rapid fire. For my rapid fire segments, you can either answer with a phrase or a sentence. And I want you to know that if you cannot pick one option or the other, both options are available. So my first rapid fire question is being liked or being respected.
It's always going to be being respected. I
Okay.
want to be liked, but I need to be respected.
Yes, 100%. I agree with you. Speed or precision?
It's always precision, but precision can't take forever. So it's a balance. And I would say, perfection is the is anti-progress. It's we're not looking for progression. We're looking for precision, but we're doing
Yes.
it as fast as possible.
Wow, wonderful. Thank you so much for that wonderful response. The next one is risk or security.
Whew. I look at strategic risk. I'm a strategic risk taker. I take risks that are low capital to start up, and if I lose it, it's kind of like almost gambling. If you went to
Yes.
Vegas and spent $500, well, I didn't expect to win any money. If I lost the 500, it's not a big deal. So
Yeah.
I want to take strategic risks as much as possible.
Yes, I totally agree with you. You want to risk what you can afford to lose.
Exactly.
And the next one, that's why I'm like, sorry, I'm just veering off topic a bit. People that risk their life, like, can you afford to lose your life, bro? Why are you risking it? Anyways,
Yeah.
control or flexibility.
Control or flexibility? Oh man, that's a tough one. As an entrepreneur, you're always focused on control, but I have become more and more as I get older, much, much more flexible to any situation. I don't worry about the small stuff as much as I used to. So I'm going to lean flexibility on that one.
Okay, so the next one is, what is one word you would use to define leadership?
One word to define leadership. Strategically, emotionally intelligent. And what I mean by that is understanding people, using it wisely and not using it to take advantage of people. But also
Yes.
emotional intelligence has to do with being nice too. But it goes back to being respected versus being nice.
Oh wow, I love that so much. And there was something I even told a friend one time. I told him that you can actually, I was like, it's not necessarily a bad thing to manipulate people. He was like, what do I mean by that? So if I see that outside, people might actually mob and beat me up. They might lynch me. I was like, true, I agree. Now, this is what I mean when I say that. Imagine you have a group of people that are stupid. Just saying, you wouldn't want to you want to manipulate them to their benefit, to your benefit and their benefit. Because if you leave them, they should just go running around. They could tear everything down and destroy everything for everyone. But if you're
Yep.
able to manipulate them to get them towards the direction where the actions they take benefits not just them but everybody else, would that is that not a good thing in of itself? He was like, well, I agree. So yes, I actually think that manipulating people in a way that it benefits society and they themselves is a good thing, as opposed to, manipulating people for selfish reasons or selfish benefits. I mean, the government does this all the time. They do it all the time. They've done it lots of. We have examples. You know what? We can get into that another day, but
Yeah.
that's just one of those things. So
Yeah.
this is
Agree.
my final question before we wrap up for today, Danny. You've been an absolutely wonderful guest. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be on my podcast and enlighten I and my listeners. It's been an honor. So
My pleasure.
if someone feels like they've been playing it safe, being agreeable, avoiding friction, avoiding conflict, holding back, what is the first shift they need to make to start showing up with more clarity and conviction?
Risk takers become winners, period. So you've got to put yourself out there. You can't be scared of conflict. I would just say, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself, today I'm going to say no to somebody. Today I'm going to set a boundary that I'm not going to stretch. And those little incremental wins and gains are going to build that self-confidence and aura about you that's necessary to be successful.
Wow, that's absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much. Those were some Shaolin monk level wisdom. Wow. Thank you so much for that, Danny.
Thank
Now,
you.
Danny, this has been, like I said before, a very sharp conversation, especially around the idea that effectiveness often requires a level of honesty and boundary setting people aren't always comfortable with, but which is very necessary, especially in today's world. Where can my listeners, learn more about your work and connect with you?
You can connect with me on LinkedIn. Again, look up Danny M as in Michael Goldberg. We also have a website going up for the book. It's a little bit ahole.com. That should be up here in the next day or so. You can also
Yeah.
find us on our main company website is gold, S is in Sam, R is in Ricky, D is in David.com. And you can also find the book on Amazon as well.
Well, thank you so much, Danny. For everyone listening, if you want to tap into your inner a-hole just a little bit, not too much, Danny is the guy for you. And please do not forget to check him out. Once again, Danny, it's been such a pleasure to have you on my podcast. Do have a wonderful, wonderful day and do take care of yourself.
You too, man. Thanks for having me.
For sure, Danny. Bye bye.